Welcome to Married Love, a new contribution to the solution of sex difficulties, written by Dr. Marie Carmichael Stopes in 1918. This pioneering work was among the first to speak openly and sympathetically about the realities of marriage, love, and intimacy. It challenged the silence and misconceptions of its time, offering guidance to young couples seeking harmony, joy, and understanding in their union. The book explores the deepest desires of the human heart, the rhythm of love, the challenges of adjustment, and the responsibilities of parenthood. It speaks not only to the happiness of individuals, but to the strength of society itself, reminding us that the harmony of homes is the foundation of civilization. As you listen, you will hear chapters that unfold the meaning of love, the causes of broken joy, the mysteries of woman's rhythm, the fundamental pulse of union, and the responsibilities of children and society. Each section is written with clarity, tenderness, and a profound sense of responsibility. This presentation prepares you for a journey into one of the most influential works on marriage and love of the 20th century. May it inspire reflection, understanding, and joy. Preface by Jesse Murray. In this little book, Dr. Marie Stopes deals with subjects which are generally regarded as too sacred for an entirely frank treatment. Some earnest and delicate minds may feel apprehensive that such frankness in details is dangerous, because the effect on prurient minds might be to give them food for their morbid fancies. It is just such a fear which has been largely responsible for the silence and mystery which have for so long been wrapped around the sacred rites of mating. The question now is, has this reticence been carried too far? Has it been carried so far that it now tends to defeat its purpose of safeguarding public morals? There are many who unhesitatingly answer such questions in the affirmative. Their intimate knowledge of human lives compels them to recognize that at least as much harm is done by silence as by speaking out. Everything depends on how the matter is presented. Those who are shocked at the publication of such a book as this on the ground that it gives material for impure minds to sport with need only reflect that such material is already amply provided in certain comic papers, in hosts of inferior novels, too often on the stage and film, and presented thus in coarse and demoralizing guise. It could do nothing but good to such minds to meet the facts they are already so familiar with in a totally new light. On the other hand, there are all the earnest and noble young minds who seek to know what responsibilities they're taking on themselves when they marry, and how they may best meet these responsibilities. How few of them have more than the vaguest ideas on the subject? How few of them know how or where to obtain the help they desire? They recoil from the coarse and impure sources of information which are so accessible, and they hesitate to approach those they have learned to regard as virtuous and modest, realizing that from such they will receive so little actual information, and that's so veiled as to be almost useless. Dr. Stopes has attempted to meet the need of such seekers, and her book will certainly be warmly welcomed by them. It is calculated to prevent many of those mistakes which wreck the happiness of countless lovers as soon as they are actually married. If it did no more than this, it would be valuable indeed. But there's an even more important aspect to be considered: the effect on child. In all civilized lands, there is a growing sense of responsibility towards the young. The problems of their physical and mental nurture attract more and more attention day by day. Eugenists, educationists, physicians, politicians, philanthropists, and even ordinary parents discuss and ponder matters both great and small which have a bearing on the development of the child. By common consent, the first 7 years of life are regarded as the most critical. It is during these years that the foundations of the personality to be are laid, well and truly or otherwise. It is during these years that the deepest and most ineradicable impressions are made in the plastic constitution of the child, arresting or developing this or the other instinctive trend and fixing it, often for life. And it is during these years above all that the parents play the most important role in the inner history of the child's life. Not so much by anything they directly teach through verbal exhortations, warnings, or commands, as by those subtler influences which are conveyed in gesture, tone, and facial expression. The younger the child, the more is it influenced through these more primitive modes of expression, and quite as much when they are not directed towards itself, but are employed by the parents in their intimate relations with one another in the presence of their apparently unobserving child. The infant in its cot, the toddling baby by the hearth, the little child to all appearance absorbed in its picture book or toy. Is it not of the utmost importance that these earliest impressions should be of the finest nature? And should we not therefore welcome all that may help, as this book can, to make the living cradle of the next generation as full of beauty and harmony as love and mutual understanding can? The age-long conflict between the lower and the higher impulses, between the primitive animal nature and the specifically human developments of an altruistic and ethical order, are fought afresh in each soul and in every marriage. We need to realize more clearly that the lower is never, ought never to be, eliminated but rather subsumed by the higher. No true harmony can be hoped for so long as one factor or the other is ignored or repressed. Dr. Stopes makes some very important biological suggestions which should not be lightly dismissed. Further observation is required to establish or disprove her theory of the normal sexual cycle in women, but my own observation certainly tends to confirm it. Jesse Murray. Author's Preface. More than ever today, are happy homes needed. It is my hope that this book may serve the state by adding to their numbers. Its object is to increase the joys of marriage and to show how much sorrow may be avoided. The only secure basis for a present-day state is the welding of its units in marriage. But there is rottenness and danger at the foundations of the state if many of the marriages are unhappy. Today, particularly in the middle classes in this country, marriage is far less really happy than its surface appears. Too many who marry expecting joy are bitterly disappointed, and the demand for freedom grows, while those who cry aloud are generally unaware that it is more likely to have been their own ignorance than the marriage bond which was the origin of their unhappiness. It is never easy to make marriage a lovely thing, and it is an achievement beyond the powers of the selfish or the mentally cowardly. Knowledge is needed, and, as things are at present, knowledge is almost unobtainable by those who are most in want of it. The problems of the sex life are infinitely complex, and for their solution urgently demand both sympathy and scientific research. I have some things to say about sex which, so far as I am aware, have not yet been said, things which seem to be of profound importance to men and women who hope to make their marriages beautiful. This little book is less a record of a research than an attempt to present in easily understandable form the clarified and crystallized results of long and complex investigations. Its simple statements are based on a very large number of first-hand observations, on confidences from men and women of all classes and types, and on facts gleaned from wide reading. My original contributions to the age-long problems of marriage will principally be found in chapters 4, 5, and 8. The other chapters fill in what I hope is an undistorted picture of the potential beauties and realities of marriage. The whole is written simply, and for the ordinary untrained reader, though it embodies some observations which will be new even to those who have made scientific researches on the subjects of sex and human physiology. These observations I intend to supplement and publish at greater length and in more scientific language in another place. I do not now touch upon the many human variations and abnormalities which bulk so largely in most books on sex, nor do I deal with the many problems raised by incurably unhappy marriages. In the following pages, I speak to those, and in spite of all our neurotic literature and plays there in the great majority, who are nearly normal, and who are married or about to be married, and hope, but do not know how, to make their marriages beautiful and happy. To the reticent, as to the conventional, it may seem a presumption or a superfluity to speak of the details of the most complex of all our functions. They ask, is not instinct enough? The answer is no. Instinct is not enough. In every other human activity, it has been realized that training, the handing on of tradition, are essential. As Dr. Saleeby once wisely pointed out, a cat knows how to manage her newborn kittens, how to bring them up and teach them. A human mother does not know how to manage her baby unless she is trained, either directly or by her own quick observation of other mothers. A cat performs her simple duties by instinct. A human mother has to be trained to fulfill her very complex ones. The same is true in the subtle realm of sex. In this country, in modern times, the old traditions, the profound primitive knowledge of the needs of both sexes, have been lost, and nothing but a muffled confusion of individual gossip disturbs a silence, shamefaced or foul. Here and there, in a family of fine tradition, a youth or maiden may learn some of the mysteries of marriage, but the great majority of people in our country have no glimmering of the supreme human art, the art of love. While in books on advanced physiology and medicine the gaps, the omissions, and even the misstatements of bare fact are amazing. In my first marriage, I paid such a terrible price for sex ignorance that I feel that knowledge gained at such a cost should be placed at the service of humanity. In this little book, average, healthy, mating creatures will find the key to the happiness which should be the portion of each. It has already guided some to happiness, and I hope it may save some others years of heartache and blind questioning in the dark. Marie Carmichael Stopes. Letter from Father Stanislaus, St. John. 114, Mount Street, London, W1, December 11th, 1917. Dear Dr. Stopes, I have read Married Love with deep interest. As a piece of thoughtful, scientific writing, I find it admirable throughout, and it seems to me that your theme could not have been treated in more beautiful or more delicate language, or with a truer ring of sympathy for those who, through ignorance or want of thought, make shipwreck of their married happiness. Your clear exposition of the rhythmic curve of sex feeling and of the misinterpretation on the part of so many husbands of what they call their wives' contrariness, arising from their ignorance of its existence, should bring happiness to many married couples whose lives are drifting apart through want of knowledge. In the exercise of my ministry, I have repeatedly traced the beginnings of the rift to this want of knowledge and consequently of sympathy. So far we are in complete agreement, but our ways part when you treat of birth control. You write primarily as a scientist, though a very human scientist, and so you are naturally mainly occupied with the facts and conditions of what I may call our earth life. I, on the other hand, writing as a Catholic, regard our earth life as essentially and inseparably connected with an eternal existence which reaches out beyond the grave. I look on this life as utterly meaningless in itself, as a period which is simply and solely a means to an end, eternity, a period of which all the circumstances of pleasure and pain can only be explained and rightly used in their relation to this eternity. Let me take an illustration of my meaning the case you give of the worn-out mother of 12. The Catholic belief is that the loss of health on her part for a few years of life and the diminished vitality on the part of her later children would be a very small price indeed to pay for an endless happiness on the part of all. In our belief, then, the destruction of one spermatozoon is not the question, but the deliberate prevention of an eternally happy existence which, in the supposition, might arise from its preservation. Holding, as we do, that the marriage act is the divinely ordained means by which man offers to God the opportunity of creating an immortal being, we do not believe that he may make use of this means and deliberately frustrate it of its end without doing grave wrong. You do me the honor of suggesting that I should write a foreword to your book, but any foreword from me could obviously only derive value from my position as a Catholic priest, and that position is in opposition to this part of your work. I cannot end without thanking you very sincerely for allowing me to read your book. Apart from what, as a Catholic, I object to in it, it contains so much most helpful matter that I feel sure will bring to many a happiness in married life, now wanting through the ignorance and the consequent want of sympathy which you so rightly deplore. Believe me, dear Dr. Stopes, yours very sincerely, S. St. John, SJCF. Reply to Father St. John. Leatherhead, December 12, 1917. Dear Father St. John, your letter wins my heart entirely by its appreciation and kindness. It is a great help and encouragement to find that we are so far in essential agreement, and that you are so well disposed toward even part of my effort. But, and I wish I could say in burning words, it is not because I'm chiefly concerned with time that I wrote chapter 9, but just because I'm so acutely and so persistently conscious that I am dealing with factors of eternity. To me, today is essentially a part of my life everlasting. I cannot separate time and eternity, this world and the next, as religious people often seem able to do. To me, this body is a tool in the service of, though not completely in the control of, my immortal soul. Now it seems to me that religious people, and even in your letter I fancy I detect the same tendency, forgive me if I am wrong, are too ready to separate this world and the next, to act unreasonably or cruelly here, and to trust to eternity, or the hereafter, to put all right. I do not think that is the way God wills us to work out his plans now, that he is giving us the knowledge to do better. Could there be anything more unreasonable or cruel than to bring in a life half a dozen children doomed from birth to ill health, poverty, and almost inevitable crime? Christ forgave the thief upon the cross, but he said, "Woe unto him through whom offenses come. It were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and he cast into the sea." Would Christ approve of deliberately creating a thief by bringing forth a child who was won inevitably through predictable weakness of physique and mentality in an environment of poverty? Thief stands for criminals in general. But more, what about others born dead, born imbecile, thwarted of life by miscarriage, which tear and rend the overburdened mother so that she is forced to neglect the children she has, and her neglect turns them into thieves? The poor, uneducated mother commits this crime through ignorance. It is we who know and allow her to remain in ignorance who are really responsible. Is not our withholding God-given knowledge the greatest stumbling block of offense to these little ones, and shall we not deserve the millstone round our necks? Were everyone to have all the children physiologically possible, now that infant mortality is so much reduced by science, in a few centuries there would not be standing room on the earth, and nowhere for a blade of grass or an ear of corn to grow between the crowding feet. Is then a Roman Catholic mother, the increases to whose large family get punier and punier, to be privileged to go deliberately with that host of puny children at the expense of others, not only through that part of eternity called time, but through all eternity? But, dear Father St. John, it is not my place to preach or to argue with you, especially after your generous kindness and appreciation. And, alas, I fully realize that even were I granted the tongues of men and of angels, and I converted you to my thought in this matter, you as a Roman Catholic priest could not uphold a position in opposition to your church. Oh, that the churches would look to Christ's own words instead of to the official church interpretation of them. I thank you very sincerely for your kindness to a stranger, and remain, always yours respectfully, Marie Carmichael Stopes. Chapter 1. The Heart's Desire. She gave him comprehension of the meaning of love, a word in many mouths, not often explained. With her, wound in his idea of her, he perceived it to signify a new start in our existence, a finer shoot of the tree stoutly planted in good gross earth, the senses running their lives sap, and the minds companioned, and the spirits made one by the whole-natured conjunction. In sooth, a happy prospect for the sons and daughters of earth, divinely indicating more than happiness, the speeding of us, compact of what we are, between the ascetic rocks and the sensual whirlpools, to the creation of certain nobler races, now very dimly imagined. George Meredith, Diana of the Crossways, Chapter 37. Every heart desires a mate. For some reason beyond our comprehension, nature has so created us that we are incomplete in ourselves. Neither man nor woman singly can know the joy of the performance of all the human functions. Neither man nor woman singly can create another human being. This fact, which is expressed in our outward divergences of form, influences and colors the whole of our lives. And there is nothing for which the innermost spirit of one and all so yearns as for a sense of union with another soul, and the perfecting of oneself which such union brings. In all young people, unless they have inherited depraved or diseased faculties. The old desire of our race springs up afresh in its pristine beauty. With the dreams and bodily changes of adolescence, come to the youth and maiden the strange and powerful impulses of the racial instinct. The bodily differences of the two, now accentuated, become mystical, alluring, enchanting in their promise. Their differences unite and hold together the man and the woman, so that their bodily union is the solid nucleus of an immense fabric of interwoven strands reaching to the uttermost ends of the earth, some lighter than the filmiest cobweb, or than the softest wave of music, iridescent with the colors not only of the visible rainbow, but of all the invisible glories of the wavelengths of the soul. However much he may conceal it under assumed cynicism, worldliness, or self-seeking, the heart of every young man yearns with a great longing for the fulfillment of the beautiful dream of a lifelong union with a mate. Each heart knows instinctively that it is only a mate who can give full comprehension of all the potential greatness in the soul, and have tender laughter for all the childlike wonder that lingers so enchantingly even in the white-haired. The search for a mate is a quest for an understanding heart clothed in a body beautiful, but unlike our own. In the modern world, those who set out on high endeavors, or who consciously separate themselves from the ordinary course of social life, are comparatively few, and it is not to them that I am speaking. The great majority of our citizens, both men and women, after a time of waiting, or of exploring, or of oscillating from one attraction to another, settle down and marry. Very few are actually so cynical as to marry without the hope of happiness, while most young people, however their words may deny it, and however they may conceal their tender hopes by an assumption of cynicism, reveal that they are conscious of entering on a new and glorious state by their radiant looks and the joyous buoyancy of their actions. In the kisses and the hand touch of the betrothed are a zest and exhilaration which stir the blood like wine. The two read poetry, listen entranced to music which echoes the songs of their pulses, and see reflected in each other's eyes the beauty of the world. In the midst of this celestial intoxication, they naturally assume that, as they are on the threshold of their lives, so too they are in but the antechamber of their experience of spiritual unity. The more sensitive, the more romantic, and the more idealistic is the young person of either sex, the more his or her soul craves for some kindred soul with whom the whole being can unite. But all have some measure of this desire, even the most prosaic, and we know from innumerable stories of real life that the sternest man of affairs, he who may have worldly success of every sort, may yet, through the lack of a real mate, live with a sense almost as though the limbs of his soul had been amputated. Edward Carpenter has beautifully voiced this longing, that there should exist one other person in the world towards whom all openness of interchange should establish itself, from whom there should be no concealment, whose body should be as dear to one, in every part, as one's own, with whom there should be no sense of mine or thine, in property or possession, into whose mind one's thoughts should naturally flow, as it were to know themselves and to receive a new illumination, and between whom and oneself there should be a spontaneous rebound of sympathy in all the joys and sorrows and experiences of life, such as perhaps one of the dearest wishes of the soul. Love's coming of age. It may chance that someone into whose hands this book falls may protest that he or she has never felt the fundamental yearning to form a part of that trinity, which alone is the perfect expression of humanity. If that is so, it is possible that all unconsciously he may be suffering from a real malady, sex anesthesia. This is the name given to an inherent coldness, which, while it lacks the usual human impulse of tenderness, is generally quite unconscious of its lack. It may even be that the reader's departure from the ordinary ranks of mankind is still more fundamental, in which case, instead of sitting in judgment on the majority, he will do well to read some such book as The Sexual Question, English translation 1908, by the famous professor August Farrell, in order that his own nature may be made known to him. He may then discover to which type of our widely various humanity he belongs. He need not read my book, for it is written about, and it is written for ordinary men and women who, feeling themselves incomplete, yearn for a union that will have power not only to make a fuller and richer thing of their own lives, but which will place them in a position to use their sacred trust as creators of lives to come. Chapter 2. The Broken Joy. It is one of the tragedies of our civilization that so many marriages, entered into with radiant hopes, are soon shadowed by disappointment. The joy which lovers anticipate often breaks upon the rocks of ignorance, misunderstanding, or selfishness. The dream of perfect union is shattered, and the bitterness of disillusion takes its place. The causes of broken joy are many. Sometimes it is due to the lack of preparation, the absence of knowledge of the most intimate realities of married life. Sometimes it is due to the selfishness of one partner, who seeks personal gratification without regard to the needs or rhythms of the other. Sometimes it is due to the intrusion of external circumstances, poverty, ill health, or the interference of relatives and social conventions. Yet, at the heart of many of these tragedies lies ignorance. The young couple, who have been taught nothing of the profound mysteries of their own bodies and emotions, enter marriage with blind faith and instinct. Instinct alone is not enough. Without understanding, without sympathy, without the willingness to learn, instinct may lead to disaster rather than joy. The broken joy of marriage is not inevitable. It can be prevented if men and women are taught to approach their union with reverence, with patience, and with knowledge. The art of love is not a simple thing, but a great and complex achievement. It requires discipline, tenderness, and the capacity to listen to the unspoken needs of the other. When joy is broken, when the dream of happiness fades, the consequences are grave. The home becomes a place of discord rather than harmony. The children, who should be nurtured in an atmosphere of love, grow up in an atmosphere of tension and bitterness. The state itself suffers, for the foundation of society is weakened when marriages fail. But there is hope. The broken joy can be healed if couples are willing to learn, to forgive, and to rebuild their union on a new foundation of understanding. The knowledge which has been withheld for so long must be given freely, so that the mistakes of the past may not be repeated. Only then can marriage fulfill its true purpose: the creation of happiness, the nurturing of children, and the strengthening of the state. Chapter 3. Woman's Contrariness. One of the most frequent complaints made by husbands is that their wives are contrary. This word, used so often in irritation or despair, conceals a profound misunderstanding. What many men interpret as willful opposition or capriciousness is in reality the natural rhythm of a woman's body and emotions, a rhythm which is not identical with that of the man. The sexual cycle of woman is not continuous in the same way as that of man. It is periodic, marked by phases of heightened receptivity and phases of withdrawal. When a husband, ignorant of this rhythm, presses his wife for union at times when her nature is not attuned to it, she may resist, appear cold, or even resentful. He calls this contrariness, but it is not contrariness at all. It is the expression of a profound biological law. If this law is ignored, the result is discord. The wife feels misunderstood, the husband feels rejected, and the joy of marriage is broken. Yet if the rhythm is recognized and respected, harmony is restored. The husband learns to wait for the time when his wife's nature is in tune with his own, and the wife, feeling understood, responds with tenderness and joy. This misunderstanding has wrecked many marriages. The man, believing his wife to be capricious or unloving, grows bitter. The woman, feeling herself forced or disregarded, grows cold. The gulf widens, and what might have been a union of joy becomes a source of pain. Knowledge alone can bridge this gulf. When men and women understand the rhythm of woman's nature, they cease to misinterpret it as contrariness and begin to see it as the natural ebb and flow of life. It is not only in the physical union that this rhythm is manifest. It colors the whole of woman's emotional life. At times she is radiant, eager, full of tenderness. At other times she is withdrawn, reflective, or even irritable. These changes are not signs of weakness or perversity. They are the natural expression of her being. To recognize them, to accept them, and to adapt to them is the secret of harmony. The wise husband will not demand uniformity from his wife. He will not expect her to be always the same. He will learn to rejoice in her radiance when it comes, and to be patient and understanding when she withdraws. In this way, he will win her confidence and her love, and their union will be deepened by sympathy and knowledge. The tragedy is that so few men are taught this truth. They enter marriage with the belief that their wives will always respond as they themselves desire, and when this does not happen, they accuse them of contrariness. The truth is that woman's rhythm is different, and only by recognizing and respecting it can marriage be made beautiful. Chapter 4. The Fundamental Pulse. At the heart of human love lies a rhythm, a pulse which is deeper than mere desire. It is the fundamental beat of life itself, manifesting in the union of man and woman. This pulse is not mechanical, nor is it uniform. It is a living rhythm, rising and falling, ebbing and flowing, in harmony with the cycles of nature. Every living creature is subject to rhythm. The tides of the sea, the waxing and waning of the moon, the alternation of day and night, the beating of the heart, the breathing of the lungs, all are expressions of rhythm. In the same way, the love of man and woman is subject to rhythm, and only when this rhythm is recognized and respected can their union be truly harmonious. The fundamental pulse of love is not constant. It is not a steady stream, but a wave. At times it rises to a crest of passion and joy. At other times it falls to a trough of quietness and rest. To ignore this rhythm, to demand uniformity, is to destroy the harmony of love. To recognize it, to move with it, is to create beauty and joy. Many marriages fail because this rhythm is not understood. The man, whose nature tends to be more continuous, presses for union when the woman's rhythm is at ebb. The woman, feeling forced, withdraws or resists. Discord follows. Yet if the man learns to wait for the crest of the wave, and the woman feels free to respond when her nature is attuned, their union becomes a dance of harmony. This pulse is not only physical. It is emotional, spiritual, and creative. It colors the whole of life. At times the lovers are radiant, eager, full of tenderness. At other times they are reflective, quiet, or withdrawn. These changes are not signs of weakness or caprice. They are the natural expression of rhythm, the fundamental pulse of life. To live in harmony with this pulse is to live in harmony with nature. It is to accept the ebb and flow, the rise and fall, the alternation of joy and rest. It is to see love not as a constant flame, but as a rhythm of light and shadow, of music and silence. In this rhythm lies the secret of enduring happiness. The wise couple will learn to listen to the pulse of their love. They will not demand that it be always at the crest, nor despair when it falls to the trough. They will accept the rhythm, rejoice in its beauty, and move with it in harmony. In this way, their love will grow deeper, richer, and more enduring, and their marriage will become a source of joy not only to themselves, but to the world. Chapter 5. Mutual Adjustment. Marriage is not the union of two perfect beings, but of two imperfect ones who must learn to adjust to each other. The joy of marriage depends less on the absence of differences than on the willingness to harmonize them. Mutual adjustment is the art by which two lives, with their distinct rhythms and tendencies, are blended into one. Every individual brings into marriage a personal history, habits, desires, and expectations. These may not always coincide with those of the partner. At first, the differences may seem trivial, but if they are ignored or resisted, they can grow into sources of discord. The secret of happiness lies in recognizing these differences and adjusting to them with sympathy and patience. Adjustment is not submission. It is not the sacrifice of one personality to another. It is the mutual recognition of each other's needs, the willingness to yield in small things, and the determination to preserve harmony in great things. It is the art of compromise, not in the sense of lowering ideals, but in the sense of blending them into a richer whole. In the physical union, adjustment is essential. The rhythm of man and woman is not identical. The wise couple will learn to wait for each other, to listen to each other's unspoken signals, and to adapt their desires to the rhythm of the other. In this way, union becomes not a struggle, but a harmony, not a demand, but a gift. In the emotional life, adjustment is equally necessary. One partner may be more demonstrative, the other more reserved. One may crave constant companionship, the other may need solitude. If these differences are ignored, resentment grows. If they are recognized and respected, love deepens. The demonstrative partner learns to give space. The reserved partner learns to give warmth. Each grows richer through the other. In the practical affairs of life, adjustment is also required. Money, work, leisure, friendships, all present opportunities for discord if each insists on his or her own way. Yet they present opportunities for joy if each learns to share, to yield, and to blend. The home becomes a place of harmony when both partners contribute to its rhythm. Mutual adjustment is not achieved in a day. It is the work of years, the gradual blending of two lives into one. It requires patience, sympathy, and the willingness to forgive. It requires the recognition that love is not static, but dynamic, growing and changing with time. It requires the determination to preserve harmony even when differences arise. The reward of mutual adjustment is great. It is the deepening of love, the creation of a home where joy is constant, and the strengthening of the state through the harmony of its units. Those who learn the art of adjustment find that their marriage becomes not a burden but a joy, not a struggle but a harmony, not a compromise but a creation. Chapter 6. Sleep. Sleep is one of the most essential foundations of health and happiness, yet is often neglected or misunderstood in marriage. The rhythm of rest is as vital as the rhythm of love, for without sleep the body and mind cannot renew themselves, and joy is diminished. Many couples fail to realize that their habits of sleep affect their union. The sharing of a bed, the adjustment of hours, the balance between wakefulness and rest, all these influence the harmony of marriage. If one partner is restless while the other craves quiet, discord may arise. If one is late to bed while the other is early, irritation may follow. Yet with sympathy and adjustment, these differences can be harmonized. Sleep is not merely the absence of wakefulness. It is a profound state in which the body repairs itself, the mind restores its balance, and the soul finds peace. To enter marriage without recognizing the importance of sleep is to risk health and happiness. To respect sleep, to guard it, and to cultivate habits which promote it is to strengthen the foundation of love. The wise couple will learn to prepare for sleep as they prepare for any sacred act. They will avoid quarrels at bedtime, for anger disturbs rest. They will avoid excess of food or drink, for indulgence burdens the body. They will seek quietness, comfort, and peace, so that sleep may come gently and renew them for the joys of the day. Sleep is also a time of intimacy, the sharing of rest, the quiet companionship of the night, the tender presence of the beloved beside one, all deepen the bond of marriage. Even in silence, even in unconsciousness, love is expressed. The rhythm of breathing, the warmth of the body, the nearness of the soul, all are part of the harmony of union. When sleep is neglected, when rest is broken, the consequences are grave. Irritability, weakness, ill health, and discord follow. The joy of marriage is diminished. The strength of the state is weakened. Yet when sleep is respected, when rest is cultivated, health and happiness flourish. The home becomes a place of peace, the marriage a source of joy, and the state is strengthened by the harmony of its units. Sleep, then, is not a trivial matter. It is a sacred rhythm, a fundamental pulse of life. To respect it is to respect nature, To cultivate, it is to cultivate joy. To share, it is to share love. In the quietness of sleep lies the renewal of life, the deepening of love, and the strengthening of marriage. Chapter 7. Modesty and Romance. Modesty is one of the most beautiful qualities of human nature, yet it is often misunderstood. True modesty is not shame, nor is it ignorance. It is the delicate reserve which protects the sacredness of love, the gentle veil which enhances its beauty. Without modesty, love becomes coarse. With modesty, it becomes radiant and tender. Romance is the companion of modesty. It is the poetry of love, the fragrance which surrounds it, the music which gives it charm. Romance is not illusion, nor is it deception. It is the recognition of beauty in the beloved, the joy of creating moments of tenderness, the delight of seeing love not only as union, but as art. In marriage, modesty and romance are essential. The physical union, stripped of modesty, may become mere indulgence. The emotional life, stripped of romance, may become dull. Yet when modesty and romance are cultivated, marriage becomes a source of joy and inspiration. The lovers see each other not only as companions, but as ideals, not only as partners, but as poets of life. Modesty is expressed in the gentle reserve which guards intimacy. It is the refusal to make love a public spectacle, the determination to keep it sacred and private. Romance is expressed in the tender gestures, the thoughtful words, the little surprises which keep love fresh. Together, they create an atmosphere in which love flourishes. The tragedy of many marriages is that modesty and romance are lost. The lovers, once tender and poetic, become careless and indifferent. The gestures of love are forgotten. The poetry fades. The sacredness is neglected. The union becomes commonplace, and joy is diminished. Yet this need not be so. Modesty and romance can be preserved if they are cherished, cultivated, and renewed. The wise couple will never cease to be lovers. They will never cease to guard the sacredness of their union with modesty, nor to enrich it with romance. They will continue to see each other with the eyes of love, to speak with the voice of tenderness, to act with the gestures of poetry. In this way, their marriage will remain radiant, their love will remain fresh, and their joy will remain constant. Modesty and romance are not trivial ornaments of love. They are its essence, its fragrance, its poetry. To neglect them is to impoverish love. To cultivate them is to enrich it. In the union of modesty and romance lies the secret of enduring happiness. Chapter 8. Abstinence. Abstinence has often been preached as a virtue, yet it is frequently misunderstood. To abstain entirely from the union of love is to deny one of the deepest instincts of human nature. To indulge without restraint is to risk exhaustion, discord, and unhappiness. Between these extremes lies the wise path, the recognition of rhythm, the respect for health, and the cultivation of harmony. There are times when abstinence is necessary. Illness, fatigue, or special circumstances may demand rest. At such times, the wise couple will refrain, not in bitterness or resentment, but in sympathy and understanding. Abstinence, when chosen for health or harmony, can strengthen love, for it teaches patience, self-control, and tenderness. Yet enforced abstinence, imposed by ignorance or fear, can be destructive. When one partner demands abstinence without reason, or when both are taught to fear the union of love, joy is broken. The body suffers, the mind grows restless, and the soul becomes starved. Such abstinence is not virtue, but cruelty, not wisdom, but ignorance. The rhythm of love itself demands periods of abstinence. The pulse of passion rises and falls, and in its ebb lies rest. To respect this ebb is to respect nature. To force union when the rhythm is at rest is to destroy harmony. To wait for the crest of the wave is to create joy. Abstinence, then, is not denial but rhythm, not negation but harmony. The wise couple will learn to distinguish between abstinence, which is destructive, and abstinence, which is creative. They will refrain when health demands it, when rhythm requires it, when tenderness counsels it. They will not refrain through fear, ignorance, or cruelty. They will see abstinence not as a burden, but as a part of the rhythm of love. In this way, abstinence becomes not a denial of joy, but a preparation for it. It becomes a pause in the music, a rest in the dance, a silence in the song. It deepens love, strengthens health, and enriches marriage. To understand abstinence is to understand rhythm. To practice it wisely is to cultivate joy. Chapter 9. Children. Children are the most sacred trust of marriage. They are not merely the offspring of man and woman, but the living continuation of the race, the embodiment of hope, and the promise of the future. To bring children into the world is to assume the highest responsibility, for their lives are shaped not only by heredity, but by the love, care, and wisdom of their parents. The desire for children is natural and profound. It springs from the instinct of creation, the yearning to perpetuate life, and the joy of seeing oneself renewed in another. Yet this desire must be tempered by knowledge, by responsibility, and by reverence. To bring children into the world without thought, without preparation, without the means to nurture them, is to betray the sacred trust of parenthood. The health of the child depends on the health of the parents. The body of the mother must be strong, her mind serene, her spirit joyful. The father must be responsible, protective, and tender. Together, they must create an atmosphere of love, harmony, and security, for the child absorbs impressions from the earliest moments of life. The cradle of the child is not only the bed in which it lies, but the home, the marriage, the union of its parents. Ignorance has brought tragedy to countless children. Mothers worn out by too many births, fathers careless of their responsibilities, homes filled with discord and poverty. All these create children who are weak, unhappy, or doomed to failure. Knowledge can prevent these tragedies. The wise couple will learn to prepare for parenthood, to guard the health of the mother, to provide for the needs of the child, and to create a home of love. Children are not merely individuals. They're the future of the state. The strength of the nation depends on the strength of its children. To neglect them is to weaken the state. To nurture them is to strengthen it. Every child is a citizen in the making, and every parent is a builder of the future. The joy of children is great. Their laughter fills the home with music. Their innocence brings purity. Their growth brings hope. Yet their care is demanding. It requires patience, sacrifice, and wisdom. It requires the recognition that the child is not a possession, but a soul entrusted to the parents. To guide that soul, to nurture it, to prepare it for life, is the highest duty of marriage. The wise couple will not bring children into the world carelessly. They will prepare, they will plan, they will guard the health of the mother, they will provide for the needs of the child. They will see parenthood not as a burden, but as a joy, not as a duty, but as a privilege. In this way, their children will grow strong, happy, and noble, and their marriage will be crowned with the highest joy. Chapter 10. Society. Marriage is not only a private union between two individuals. It is also a social institution upon which the stability of the state depends. The happiness or unhappiness of marriages influences not only the lives of the partners, but also the health of the community, the strength of the nation, and the progress of civilization. Society is built upon the foundation of homes. If the homes are harmonious, the state is strong. If the homes are discordant, the state is weakened. Every marriage contributes to the fabric of society, either by strengthening it through joy and harmony, or by weakening it through discord and unhappiness. The influence of marriage extends beyond the couple and their children. It affects neighbors, friends, and the wider community. A happy marriage radiates joy, creating an atmosphere of goodwill and inspiration. An unhappy marriage radiates bitterness, creating an atmosphere of discord and despair. Thus, the private life of the home becomes a public force, shaping the character of society. Ignorance of the true nature of marriage has led to many social problems. Divorce, illegitimacy, poverty, and crime often spring from unhappy unions. These are not merely private tragedies. They are public dangers. The state suffers when its citizens are unhappy, when its children are neglected, when its homes are broken. Knowledge, sympathy, and adjustment can prevent these tragedies and strengthen society. The responsibility of marriage is therefore not only personal, but social. Each couple must recognize that their union is not merely for themselves, but for the community. Their happiness contributes to the happiness of others. Their discord contributes to the discord of others. To make marriage beautiful is to serve the state. To make it unhappy is to injure the state. The wise couple will see their marriage not only as a private joy, but as a public duty. They will cultivate harmony, not only for their own happiness, but for the strength of society. They will recognize that their home is a part of the nation, that their children are citizens in the making, that their love is a force which shapes the future. Society itself must also recognize its responsibility. It must provide knowledge, guidance, and support for marriage. It must cease to treat love as a mystery or a taboo. It must teach its citizens the art of union. Only then can the state be strong, the homes be happy, and the future be secure. Marriage and society are inseparable. To strengthen one is to strengthen the other. To neglect one is to weaken the other. In the harmony of homes lies the harmony of the state. In the joy of marriages lies the joy of civilization. Chapter 11. The Glorious Unfolding. Marriage, when lived in harmony and knowledge, is not a static state, but a glorious unfolding. It is the gradual revelation of beauty, the deepening of love, the enrichment of life. Each day brings new discoveries. Each year brings new growth, and the union of man and woman becomes ever more radiant. At first, marriage is filled with the intoxication of youth, the joy of discovery, the delight of companionship. But as time passes, deeper joys unfold. The lovers learn not only to share passion, but to share silence. Not only to rejoice in union, but to rejoice in companionship. They learn to see each other not only as beloved, but as friend, not only as partner, but as fellow traveler on the road of life. The unfolding of marriage is like the unfolding of a flower. At first the bud is closed, filled with promise. Then it opens, revealing beauty. Then it matures, revealing depth. At each stage there is joy. At each stage there is growth. At each stage there is harmony. The flower of love, if tended with care, becomes more beautiful with time. This unfolding is not without trials. There are moments of discord, moments of weariness, moments of sorrow. Yet these are not signs of failure, but opportunities for growth. Each trial, if met with patience and sympathy, deepens love. Each sorrow, if shared, strengthens union. Each discord, if resolved, enriches harmony. In this way, the unfolding of marriage becomes a journey of joy. The glorious unfolding of marriage is not only for the couple. It is for the children who grow in the atmosphere of love. It is for the community, which is enriched by the harmony of homes. It is for the state, which is strengthened by the joy of its citizens. The unfolding of marriage is the unfolding of civilization itself. The wise couple will see their marriage not as a completed state, but as a growing life. They will cherish its beginnings, rejoice in its growth, and look forward to its maturity. They will tend it with care, nourish it with love, and protect it with patience. In this way, their marriage will unfold gloriously, becoming a source of joy to themselves, their children, their community, and their state. The unfolding of marriage is the unfolding of love, the unfolding of life, the unfolding of joy. To live in harmony with this unfolding is to live in harmony with nature, with humanity, and with God. Additions to the 6th edition. In preparing this enlarged edition, I have received many letters from readers who sought further guidance on certain matters. Among the subjects of inquiry, Two are particularly prominent. The first concerns the practical extension of Chapter 9, Dealing with Children. This I have already treated separately in the companion volume entitled Wise Parenthood. The second concerns the reverse state of affairs, which I now place at the end of this volume as Edition 4, page 119. Other points are dealt with on pages 114 and following. The difficulty and cost of printing still render it inadvisable to incorporate throughout this edition the number of small notes I should like to add and the further points about which my correspondents have asked advice. Nevertheless, I hope that these editions will satisfy readers before too long a time has elapsed. It is my earnest desire that the book should continue to serve those who seek to make their marriages beautiful and happy. The letters I have received show how deeply the need is felt and how warmly the effort is welcomed. I am grateful to those who have contributed information or who have asked for more light, and I trust that these editions will help to meet their needs. Marie Carmichael Stopes.